What's going on, guys? Josh from SoccerReviewsForYou.com, bringing you my review plus on-feet video of the brand new Nike Zoom Phantom Venom Pro Indoors in the launch game over pack colorway. Since they don't do an elite indoor model, this is technically the top end version in the line with a retail price of $110. Now, while $110 is by no means cheap, it's actually pretty reasonable considering that the FG version of the Phantom Venom Pro retails for $120. But unlike that model, which features a Kangalite upper, this is completely different and something that I'm actually a really big fan of. So in today's video, we're going to take a closer look at this boot. I'm going to go over all the details and essentially tell you why I think this is actually one of your best options for an indoor or turf model, because it is available as a turf as well, right around the $100 price point. So if you want to learn more, please stick around, watch the whole video, and if you're interested in a pair of these for yourself, I'll leave a little pop-up on screen, or you can click the first link down below. That'll take you to the review page on my website where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes where you'll be able to pick these up below their normal $110 retail price. If you guys do end up enjoying today's video and perhaps want to see more indoor and turf reviews on the channel, please support this video with a like. And if you're new here watching for the first time and don't want to miss out on future content from me, be sure to hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you get notified when the next new video goes live. So first things first, let's focus on the upper, because it is distinctly different in comparison to any other variation of the Phantom Venom that we've seen so far. It still utilizes a Nike skin base, but you're going to find that it also has a hyper screen element, something that we have previously seen pretty much only once before on the Nike Mercurial Vapor 12 Pro, which I have reviewed on the channel in the past. Now, if you look closely at the upper, you can very clearly see that basically from this seam going all the way up the side where the striking element would normally be, and then passing pretty much through the entirety of the midfoot, forefoot, and toe box area on the medial side, you have this very thin mesh base with a nylon liner on the underside, and most of that mesh is left exposed, but covering up parts of the mesh in the form of these kind of strategically positioned streaks, let's call it that, is your hyper screen material. So that's basically the combination of these two elements, this kind of slightly grippy silicone texturing on top and the mesh base that makes for a hyper screen upper. But you'll notice on the medial side, it still has the Nike skin branding, which basically makes up the rest of the midfoot as well as the heel area of the upper. Now, I know what you're thinking. Isn't the whole point of the Phantom Venom to have that striking element? It's supposed to be the return of power boots, the reincarnation of the Nike T90 line, and you're not wrong in thinking that. But having tried the Elite Pro and Academy variations of the Phantom Venom, I can tell you that the only striking element that actually makes for a noticeable or at least worthwhile difference in regards to feel when striking the ball is on that Elite model, which you obviously don't have that option if you're buying an indoor or turf variation from the Phantom Venom lineup. This Pro model is your top of the line option, and in place of that striking element, they have basically just added these silicone strips by way of this hyper screen material. And I have to say, the amount of grip provided by this not only spans the entire striking area, but the entire hyper screen upper portion of the boot itself. So you'll find through the forefoot, the toe box area, you're getting all of that same texturing that does legitimately add some extra grip on the ball that is more like the Elite than any other variation of the Phantom Venom. I think what I really liked about the Phantom Venom Pro, the FG variation, was the Kangalite at the front. I thought that was a nice thing to see back on a Nike boot, but the thing I was disappointed about in comparison to the Elite model is that you didn't get any of the extra grip that it had with its kind of silicone texturing. The upper on the Phantom Venom Pro just feels smooth. On this indoor variation though, because of this hyper screen upper, you get that extra grip, and maybe it's a stretch to make this comparison, but it does remind me ever so slightly of the Predator LZ models that had the hybrid touch uppers and then the rubber elements all around. Those definitely offered more grip on the ball, but this is kind of along those lines in regards to the feel on offer. Which brings us to one of the more controversial elements of the new Phantom Venom, and that is the bottom half lace cover. Some people absolutely despise the way that it looks. Personally, I don't mind it at all, and you can see that it is made out of a slightly stretchy mesh material covering the bottom portion of the lacing system, with the top half being left exposed. And my main issue with this boot as it was on the regular FG Phantom Venom Pro, is that because of the way they did this internal construction, where basically you still maintain the flywire cables that run from the base of the sole directly into the lacing system. That's how the laces actually attach to the upper. It's great once you have the boots on and are able to tie the laces tight. The issue is the opening to actually get these on, despite being a seemingly normal low-cut boot, is very difficult. It's just too small, and it makes it more of a struggle than I think it should be to put these on. And that's simply because Nike hasn't really gone and cut any slits on the side of this internal one-piece construction, which means that there's just no stretch. It's a thin mesh base for the tongue itself, but like I said, it just doesn't have a lot of give to it. So it's a little bit of a struggle to put them on. Once you do actually get them on your feet, I'll say that the wrap on your foot is very good. The shoes as a whole just fit extremely well, but the struggle of putting them on is one that personally I really don't care for. Also, because of the lace cover, if the laces did snap or you wanted to swap them out for something else for some reason, it does make changing the laces, perhaps, again, a little bit more difficult than it needs to be. Moving to the rear, you'll find that these feature a standard low-cut construction with an internal plastic heel counter, so nothing out of the ordinary there. The heel liner is a smooth synthetic leather material with not a ton of extra padding. It's actually a little bit on the slick side, I would say, but nothing that I found was any kind of an issue in regards to heel lockdown. And then as far as the insole is concerned, it's a mesh liner on top, a single layer of foam, and technically it is removable, but they do put some glue there, which makes it a little bit more difficult, again, than it perhaps needs to be. Moving on to the midsole and outsole, given that the Phantom Venom does technically replace the Hyper Venom lineup, it's not too surprising that the midsole-outsole setup is very much like what we had on those Hyper Venom indoor models from the previous generation. You'll notice the Nike Zoom branding here on the midsole, and that is actually the cushioning setup, or part of the cushioning setup, I should say, with this outsole, where basically there is a very small circular, or maybe it's a hexagon, zoom unit right here under the heel. That makes up the Nike Zoom portion of the outsole, and I have to say, it's not something that's super noticeable, especially out of the box. After a little bit of wear time, it becomes a little bit more noticeable, but for the most part, I wouldn't say it's a big deal, which is not too surprising because I didn't think it was that big of a deal on the Hyper Venom indoors either. As far as the actual midsole foam is concerned though, it's a pretty standard Phylon foam as far as I'm aware. I couldn't find, again, any specification as to what specific type of foam that it is, but it has some good cushion to it. They don't feel overly firm by any means at all, and for the most part, it's a relatively low profile indoor model as well, with all of the black foam being exposed around the heel and midfoot. And then of course, as you get to the forefoot, which is pretty standard, you're gonna find the rubberized lip for the sake of durability on both the indoor as well as the turf variation. Moving to the outsole, being the indoor variation, you can see that it does feature translucent rubber, which I personally think looks very cool, but that's of course something that will vary from colorway to colorway. But you'll notice very distinctly that it does have this kind of split up design in black here, which kind of mimics the flex points that you have in the sole plate of the new hyper-reactive sole plate on the Phantom Venom Elites and technically the Phantom Venom Pros as well. In regards to overall feel of this kind of midsole-outsole setup, it is very flexible through the forefoot, so I will give it that. And the indoor bottom as a whole, the traction pattern isn't really that far off, again, what we had previously with the Hyper Venom indoors. It does seem to get the job done. Traction, I would say, is above average for an indoor model, but as always, if you're playing on an indoor court and it's really dusty, you're gonna have to constantly wipe your feet off. And as far as durability is concerned, for use in a street soccer type environment, it does seem to hold up quite well on concrete or asphalt or whatever kind of more abrasive flat surface that you would want to use these on. And then finally, when it comes to weight, in a size 9.5 US, these guys weigh in at about 8.5 ounces, which all things considered for an indoor model, while that's not super lightweight for a pair of FG boots, that's actually pretty light as far as indoors go, above average at least. So if you're looking for that lightweight feel from your indoors, you definitely will get that from these Phantom Venoms. On feet, the Venom Pro indoors feel really good. The underfoot cushioning provided by the foam midsole and the Zoom Air unit in the heel is, I would say, above average, and you have good flexibility through the forefoot as well, which is something that I like in a pair of indoors. The upper being that it's pretty much all mesh based, the Nike Skin and the Hyperscreen section, there's really nothing to break in. There's no stiffness to it since it is just a simple mesh, and it does have that sock-like feel to a certain extent. You also have those nylon straps running through the lacing system, kind of acting as a fly-wire cable system that really does a good job of giving you this nice, tight, secure, locked-in sensation where they really feel borderline speed boot-esque on your feet, despite not really looking like traditional speed boots. Heel lockdown is really good, and as a whole, the boots just fit extremely well. As far as width is concerned, because the opening is not the biggest, making them difficult to put on, and the overall shape of the boot is not overly wide, I would say that if you have wide feet, probably not a great option for you. Again, I think they fit a lot tighter than you might expect, but as long as you don't have super wide feet and don't mind a tight fit, you shouldn't have any issues fitting into these boots whatsoever. And as far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing these in my usual size 9.5 US, and the fit and length is pretty much perfect. So if you are looking to order a pair for yourself, I would strongly recommend going true to size. So in conclusion, aside from the fact that I think they're more difficult to put on than they should be, which is something that Nike could easily fix by changing up the tongue design ever so slightly on future colorways, there's not much that I can criticize about this boot considering the $110 price point. The Nike Skin Hyperscreen combo for the upper, I think feels amazing. It's soft, it's flexible, it's comfortable, and the touch that you get on the ball is thin with that little bit of padding, plus the extra grip without the extra bulk, which I think really sums up what the Phantom Venom line really aims to achieve in the first place. Once you do get them on your feet, the fit is great. I think the midsole and outsole setup, while not the best, is still really, really good. And again, considering they're 110 bucks, it's a tough boot to beat in regards to everything that you get for your money. In comparison to the Mercurial Vapor 12 Pro, which also features a Hyperscreen upper, while I think those are really good, given the choice, I'd probably pick these. Anyways, guys, that's it for this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to support it with a like. Again, if you're interested in a pair of these for yourself, you can click the first link down below in the description. That's gonna take you to the review page on my website, where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes, where you'll be able to pick these up below their normal $110 retail price in multiple different colorways. If you have any questions, as always, leave them down below in the comments, and I'll do my best to get an answer out to you as soon as I possibly can. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information linked down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.